Welcome back to my channel, US Rare Coins News, Top 1. Today we are talking about a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but could be sitting in your drawer worth far more than 50 cents. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar isn't just another coin. It was struck to celebrate America's 200th birthday. And here's the twist, some of these coins have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. The question is, do you know which ones to look for? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes you'll learn what makes this bicentennial Kennedy half dollar special, how to spot the valuable versions, the rare errors collectors chase, and the real prices they're bringing in today. Let's start by taking a close look. On the front, you see the familiar profile of President John F. Kennedy. Strong, detailed, facing left. The words, Liberty, curve around the top. The date at the bottom reads 1776 to 1976 instead of a single year. That dual date is your first big clue that this is not a regular issue. Now flip it over. Instead of the usual presidential seal, you'll see Independence Hall from Philadelphia. That's right, the very building where the Declaration of Independence was debated and adopted. Imagine that. The same place where America's story changed forever is now stamped onto this half dollar. Underneath, you'll see 200 years of freedom. It's bold, patriotic, instantly recognizable. Here's something most people don't realize. Even though the coin says 1776 to 1976, these were actually minted in 1975 and 1976. In fact, no Kennedy half dollars were dated 1975 at all. That alone makes this design stand out in US coin history. But here's where it gets interesting, millions were made. Over 500 million for circulation. So most of these you find in pocket change. They're only worth face value. 50 cents. Maybe $1 in nice condition, but not all of them are the same. There are three main types you need to know. First, the regular copper-nickel clad version. These were made in Philadelphia and Denver. Look for no mint mark for Philadelphia, or a small d for Denver. In circulated condition, they're usually worth 50 cents to $2. In uncirculated mint state, maybe $5 to $15 depending on quality. Second, the 40% silver version. This is where things start to heat up. These were struck in San Francisco and carry an S mint mark. They were sold in special collector sets and were never meant for circulation. If you weigh one and it's slightly heavier and has a more solid silver edge instead of a copper stripe, you might be holding silver. In average condition, the silver versions often sell for $10 to $20. In pristine, high-grade condition, they can bring $50 or more, but wait, there's a third category that serious collectors hunt for, proof coins. These were specially struck with polished dies, giving them a mirror-like background and frosted details. When you tilt them under light, the shine is unmistakable. Some proof versions are clad, others are 40% silver. High-grade proof silver examples, especially deep cameo versions, have sold at auction for several $100s. In rare cases, perfect graded specimens have reached over $1,000. Now let's talk errors. This is where hidden treasures appear. There are double die errors where parts of the lettering appear slightly doubled. There are off-center strikes. There are coins struck on the wrong planchet. And there are no S-proof errors, extremely rare coins where the S mint mark is missing. One of those no S-proof bicentennial half dollars has sold for thousands of dollars at auction. Imagine checking your coin jar and spotting that tiny missing letter. And here's a fun detail. Because so many Americans saved these coins as souvenirs in 1976, high-grade uncirculated examples are more common than with some other years. But truly flawless, top population graded coins are still scarce. Condition is everything. A coin graded MS67 or higher can jump dramatically in value compared to an average uncirculated piece. So if you have one, what should you do? First, check the mint mark. Second, look at the edge for silver. Third, inspect the surfaces closely under good lighting. Any unusual doubling? Any missing mint mark on a proof coin? Those small details can mean big money. Right now, in today's market, most circulated 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollars sell for face value to about $2. Uncirculated clad versions typically range from $5 to $15. The 40% silver versions often trade between $10 and $25 depending on silver prices and condition. High-grade certified examples and rare errors can range from several $100s to several $1,000s at major auctions, not bad for a coin many people overlook, and here's the real question. Do you own this coin? Have you ever checked your bicentennial half dollars closely? Or are they sitting in a drawer right now, waiting to surprise you? Tell me in the comments. And let me know, which coin would you love to add to your collection next? The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar is more than spare change. It's a piece of American history. A tribute to 200 years of freedom. A coin with hidden varieties, silver content, and rare errors that still excite collectors nearly 50 years later. Top 2, today we are talking about a half dollar that most people ignore, but in the right condition, it can sell for hundreds of dollars. Yes, I'm serious. The 1998 P. Kennedy half dollar. A coin you've probably seen. Maybe even spent. And yet, very few people realize how unusual this year actually is. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why the 1998 P is different from older Kennedy halves, what makes certain examples valuable, the rare errors collectors hunt for, and the real prices these coins are bringing today. And trust me, the final number might surprise you. Let's take a close look. On the front, you see the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy. Strong profile. Clean design. The word liberty across the top. In God we trust split on either side of his neck. And just below, the date 1998 with a small P mint mark underneath Kennedy's portrait. That P stands for Philadelphia Mint. Now flip it over. You'll see the presidential coat of arms, the eagle with outstretched wings, shield on its chest, olive branch in one claw, arrows in the other. United States of America across the top. Half dollar at the bottom. At first glance, nothing seems rare. Nothing seems special, but here's the twist. By 1998, half dollars were barely circulating in everyday commerce. Most Americans weren't using them. Banks weren't ordering many. So while the mintage was still in the millions, over 15 million pieces from Philadelphia, they didn't see heavy circulation like coins from the 1960s and 70s. And that matters, because many 1998 P half dollars sat in storage. Some stayed in mint rolls. Some were tucked away in drawers. And high-grade examples became the key. Here's where things get interesting. If you find a worn 1998 P in average circulated condition, it's worth face value. 50 cents. Nothing more, but if you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition, no scratches, full luster, sharp details, the value jumps. In mint state grades like MS65 or MS66, these coins often sell for $10 to $30 depending on eye appeal. But in ultra-high grades, like MS67 or higher, auction prices can reach several $100s. Why? Because truly flawless modern coins are much harder to find than people think. Think about it. One tiny bag mark. One small scratch. One dull patch in the luster. The grade drops instantly. And with modern coins, collectors demand perfection. Now let's talk about errors. Because this is where the treasure hunt begins. Some 1998 P. Kennedy halves show doubled dies, where parts of the lettering appear slightly doubled under magnification. Others have off-center strikes. There are examples with clipped planchets, where a curved section of the coin is missing from the edge. And occasionally, you'll find coins with weak strikes where certain design elements look soft or incomplete. Imagine zooming in with a macro lens. The camera focuses on Liberty. You notice slight doubling on the letters. That small detail could turn a 50-cent coin into something much more valuable. And here's a fun fact many people don't realize: the Kennedy half dollar series began in 1964, shortly after President Kennedy's assassination. It was meant as a tribute. Over time, silver was removed from circulation issues, and by 1971, regular halves were copper-nickel clad. The 1998 P contains no silver at all. Its value isn't based on metal. It's based on condition and rarity in top grades, that makes it a pure collector's coin. Now imagine this scene: you open an old bankroll from the late 1990s. The coins slide out. Bright. Flashy. Untouched. You inspect them carefully. One stands out, booming luster, almost no marks, razor-sharp details on Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers. That could be the one worth grading, and here's the cliffhanger: not all 1998 P coins are equal. Strike quality varies. Some have flat areas in the hair above Kennedy's ear. Others have weak eagle breast feathers. Strong strike examples are much scarcer in high grades. Collectors pay attention to those details. So what are the real numbers? In today's market, a circulated 1998 P Kennedy $half is worth face value. An average uncirculated example may sell for around $5 to $15. High-grade certified coins in MS-66 or MS-67 can range from $50 to several $100 depending on appeal and population reports. Error coins vary widely, but noticeable double dies or dramatic off-center strikes can bring anywhere from $50 to a few $100s at auction, not millions. Not hype. Realistic, collector-driven prices, and that's what makes this coin exciting. It's modern. It's accessible. You don't need to spend thousands to hunt for one. You just need sharp eyes and patience. So let me ask you, do you own a 1998 P Kennedy $half? Have you ever checked one under magnification? Or is there a roll sitting somewhere in your home right now? Drop a comment and tell me. And which modern coin would you love to see explode in value next? The 1998 P Kennedy $half may not be silver. It may not look flashy at first. But in top condition, with the right details, it becomes a serious collector's piece. Top 3. Today we are talking about a coin from the year 2000 that most people have never even seen in circulation, and yet in top condition, it can sell for hundreds of dollars. The 2000 P Kennedy $half is one of those coins that hides in plain sight. It doesn't contain silver. It doesn't look dramatically different. But the story behind it, and the tiny details that separate an ordinary piece from a valuable one, might completely change how you look at modern coins. In the next few minutes, I'll show you why the 2000 P is special, how to spot the high-grade versions collectors chase, the errors that can multiply its value, and the real-world prices these coins are bringing today. And trust me, the ending numbers are worth sticking around for. Let's bring the camera in close. On the front, you see the unmistakable portrait of President John F. Kennedy. The design hasn't changed since 1964. Liberty across the top. In God We Trust split on either side of his neck. And just below the date 2000, you'll notice a small P mint mark. That P stands for the Philadelphia Mint. Flip it over, the reverse shows the presidential seal, the eagle with a shield on its chest, olive branch in one claw, arrows in the other. United States of America across the top. $half at the bottom. It's bold. Clean. Classic. So what makes the 2000 P interesting? Here's the first surprise. Why the year 2000, $half were barely used in everyday transactions. Most banks didn't even order them regularly. Vending machines didn't take them. People weren't spending them. That means the 2000 P was produced mostly for collectors and storage, not heavy circulation. The mintage from Philadelphia was just over 18 million coins. Now that might sound like a lot. But compared to older decades where hundreds of millions were struck, it's relatively low, and here's where it gets even more interesting. Most 2000 P $half you find in circulation are worth face value. 50 cents. That's it, but condition changes everything. If you find one that's uncirculated, bright luster, no wear on Kennedy's hair, sharp lines in the eagle's feathers, the value jumps immediately. In average mint state grades like MS-63 or MS-64, they often sell for $5 to $15, but when you move into higher territory, MS-66 or MS-67, the price climbs dramatically. Certified high-grade examples have sold for $100 to several $100s at auction. Why? Because modern coins are incredibly hard to find in near-perfect condition. One small mark from mint bags can drop the grade instantly. Now let's talk about the details you need to look for. Zoom in on Kennedy's hair above the ear. Is it fully defined? Or does it look flat? Check the fields, the smooth background areas. Are they clean and mirror-like, or filled with tiny contact marks? Rotate the coin under light. Watch how the luster flows across the surface. Strong, cartwheel luster is a great sign, and here's the part many people miss: there are error coins out there. Some 2000p have show double dies, where parts of the lettering or date appear slightly doubled under magnification. Others have off-center strikes. There are clipped planchets, where part of the edge is missing in a smooth curve. Even minor die cracks can add collector interest. Imagine holding one under a magnifying glass and spotting doubling on Liberty. That tiny detail could turn an ordinary coin into something worth significantly more, but there's another twist: because these coins weren't heavily circulated, many survived in decent condition. That means collectors compete fiercely for the very best examples. Population reports show a sharp drop-off at the highest grades. In other words, there are plenty of nice ones, but very few perfect ones, and perfection is where the serious money is. In today's market, circulated 2000p Kennedy half dollars are worth face value. Uncirculated examples typically sell between $5 and $20 depending on quality. High-grade certified coins in MS-66 or MS-67 can range from around $100 to several $100s at auction, depending on appeal and scarcity at that grade. Error coins vary widely, with noticeable double dies or dramatic strike errors often bringing $50 to several $100s, not hype. Not fantasy numbers. Real collector-driven values. So here's the question. Do you have a 2000p Kennedy half dollar sitting in a drawer or coin jar right now? Have you ever checked it closely under bright light? Or could you be overlooking a high-grade gem without realizing it? Tell me in the comments. And which year of Kennedy half dollar would you love to add to your collection? The 2000p may not be silver. It may not look rare at first glance. But its lower modern mintage, limited circulation, and extreme rarity in top grades make it a sleeper coin that serious collectors respect. Top 4. Today we are talking about a coin from the 1980s that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up, yet in top condition, it can quietly sell for hundreds of dollars. The 1986 Kennedy half dollar doesn't have silver. It doesn't have a flashy commemorative design. And it definitely doesn't scream rare at first glance. But if you know what to look for, this coin becomes a serious modern collectible. In the next few minutes, I'll show you why the 1986 stands out, how condition completely changes its value, the errors collectors search for, and the real prices these coins are bringing in today. And near the end, I'll explain why one tiny detail can multiply the price fast. Let's zoom in. On the front, you see the familiar profile of President John F. Kennedy. The design has been in place since 1964. Liberty stretches across the top. In God We Trust is split on both sides of his neck. And just below the date 1986, you'll see a small D mint mark. That D tells you this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Flip it over, the reverse shows the presidential seal. The eagle spreads its wings wide, shield on its chest, olive branch in one claw, arrows in the other. United States of America above. Half dollar below. It's a strong, classic design that hasn't changed for decades. So why does 1986 matter? Here's the first key point. Why the mid-1980s, half dollars were barely circulating in daily life. People weren't using them at grocery stores. Banks weren't ordering them in large numbers. In fact, many half dollars from this era sat in Federal Reserve storage for years. The mintage for the 1986 was just over 19 million coins. Compared to earlier decades when hundreds of millions were produced, that's relatively modest, but mintage alone doesn't make it valuable, condition does. Most 1986 halves you'll find today are worth face value 50 cents. That's it. Even lightly circulated pieces usually stay under $1, but now imagine this: you open an old roll from the 1980s. The coins slide out. Bright. Frosty. almost untouched. You tilt one under the light. The luster rolls across the surface like a spinning wheel. Kennedy's hair shows sharp detail above the ear. The eagle's feathers are crisp and fully defined. That's when things changed. In uncirculated condition, these coins often sell for $5 to $15. But in higher mint state grades like MS-66 or MS-67, the value jumps dramatically. Certified MS-67 examples have sold for several $100s at auction. Why? Because modern coins are extremely hard to find in near-perfect condition. Tiny bag marks from mint storage can instantly lower the grade. Here's the detail most people miss: look closely at Kennedy's cheek and jawline. These areas are high points. They pick up marks easily. If they're clean and smooth, you may have a strong candidate for grading. Also check the fields, the flat background areas. Are they free from scratches? Rotate the coin slowly under bright light and watch for uninterrupted luster. And now let's talk errors. Some 1986 D Kennedy half dollars show minor double die characteristics in lettering. Others have die cracks running through parts of the design. Off-center strikes exist too, though they're not common. Even small clipped planchet errors can command attention from collectors. Imagine spotting a noticeable die crack through the eagle's wing. That small imperfection from the minting process can make the coin more desirable, not less. Here's another interesting piece of history. By 1986, the Kennedy half dollar had already become more of a collector's series than a circulating coin. Unlike the early 1964 silver issues, these later copper-nickel versions don't have precious metal value. Their worth is based almost entirely on condition, eye appeal, and rarity in top grades. And here's the cliffhanger: population reports show that while thousands exist in average mint state, very few reach the highest certified grades. That steep drop-off is where serious collectors compete. That's where prices climb. So what are the real numbers? In today's market, a circulated 1986 D Kennedy half dollar is generally worth face value. Uncirculated examples typically range from $5 to around $20 depending on quality. High-grade certified pieces in MS-66 or MS-67 can sell for $100 to several $100s at auction, especially if they show strong luster and minimal marks. Error coins vary, but noticeable and dramatic examples can bring anywhere from $50 to a few $100s, nothing exaggerated. Just steady, realistic collector demand. So let me ask you. Do you have a jar of half dollars somewhere at home? Have you ever checked a 1986 D closely under magnification? Or could you be holding a high-grade coin without even knowing it? Drop your answer in the comments. And tell me, which Kennedy half dollar year is your favorite? The 1986 D may not shine like silver. It may not carry a special commemorative design. But its lower modern mintage, limited circulation, and true scarcity in top condition make it a sleeper coin that rewards careful collectors. Top 5. Today we are talking about a coin that marked the end of silver in regular Kennedy half dollars, and most people don't even realize they're holding a historic turning point when they see one. The 1971 D Kennedy half dollar doesn't look dramatic. No special colors. No commemorative reverse. Just a simple date and a small D. But this coin represents the first year the series went fully copper-nickel for circulation. And in the right condition, it can be worth far more than 50 cents. In this video, I'm going to show you why 1971 D is important, how to spot the valuable high-grade examples, the rare errors collectors search for, and the real prices these coins are bringing today. And there's one small detail on this coin that separates the common from the collectible. Stay with me. Let's bring the camera in close. On the front, you see the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy. Liberty curves around the top. "In God We Trust" is split on both sides of his neck. And just below the date 1971, you'll see a small D mint mark. That D means this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Now flip it over. The reverse shows the presidential seal. An eagle with outstretched wings. Shield on its chest. Olive branch in one claw. Arrows in the other. United States of America across the top. Half dollar at the bottom. It's bold. Clean. Powerful. Here's where the story gets interesting. from 1965 to 1970, Kennedy half dollars still contained 40% silver. But in 1971, that changed. Rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to remove silver entirely from circulating halves. The 1971 D became one of the very first regular-issue copper-nickel Kennedy half dollars. That makes it historically significant. Now, you might be thinking, if it's historic, it must be rare. Not exactly. The Denver Mint struck over 300 million of these coins. So in circulated condition, they're common. Most worn examples are worth face value 50 cents, but here's the twist. High-grade examples are not common, because so many 1971 D halves were heavily used, finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is harder than you think. And even among uncirculated coins, strong strikes are surprisingly tough to find. Zoom in on Kennedy's hair above the ear. Many 1971 D coins show weak detail there. Look at the eagle's breast feathers on the reverse. Often flat. If you find one with sharp hair detail and crisp feather lines, you may have something special. Now imagine holding two coins side by side. One has dull luster and soft details. The other shines with strong cartwheel luster and razor-sharp features. That difference can mean the jump from a $1 coin to a coin worth hundreds. Here's another layer. There are known double-die varieties for 1971 D. On some coins, you can see slight doubling in the lettering, especially in Liberty or In God We Trust when viewed under magnification. There are also off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks that add collector value, and then there's condition rarity. Certified coins graded MS66 or MS67 are far scarcer than you'd expect from such a large mintage. Bag marks from mint storage damaged many coins before they ever reached collectors. So spotless examples are rare. This is where collectors compete. In circulated condition, a 1971 D Kennedy half dollar is worth face value. In average uncirculated grades like MS63 or MS64, they typically sell for $5 to $15. In higher grades like MS65 or MS66, prices can range from $25 to $100 depending on eye appeal. Exceptional MS67 examples have sold for several $100s at auction. Dramatic error coins can also bring anywhere from $50 to a few $100s depending on the severity and demand, not thousands for the average coin. But serious money for the right one. And here's the part one love. This is a coin you can still find. In old bank rolls. In inherited collections. In forgotten drawers. It's not locked away in museums. It's out there. So let me ask you. Do you own a 1971 D Kennedy half dollar? Have you ever checked the hair detail or the eagle's feathers closely? Or did you assume it was just another common coin? Tell me in the comments. And which early copper-nickel Kennedy year do you think has the most potential? The 1971 D marks the beginning of a new era for the series. No silver. Massive mintage. But true scarcity in top condition. That combination makes it one of the most interesting modern Kennedy halves to hunt. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to learn how to spot more hidden value in everyday coins, hit like, subscribe, and watch the next video. Because sometimes the coins that seem the most ordinary turn out to tell the biggest stories.